Namaste to all of you once again who have tuned in to learn more and more about the excellences of a leader. Let me commend you for following our series. I hope you are not only listening to them, but also putting them into practice one after the other. Because if you follow this and you stay committed, you invest your time in this, I assure you, it will take you to a different level of leadership. And if you are already acting as a team leader, a supervisor, a manager, you will again discover more to you in terms of leadership. So, past so many weeks, we have been covering different parts of the Swami's character or qualities of leadership, which Chanakya refers to as Swami Sampat, loosely meaning the excellences of the leader. So today we are going to talk about two new competencies, if you will, two new gunaha in Swami Sampat. The first one is called Heeymaan. Heeymaan. And Heeymaan, again, is very unique. You probably would not find a parallel of this in modern leadership literature. So what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is conscientiousness. I repeat, conscientiousness. So a conscientious leader is able to do much more, not just for his team, his immediate deputies, or even the larger organization. But he also goes, or she also goes, the Swamini, goes beyond the organization to the ecosystem, the society in which he or she operates, the environment in which he or she operates. Let me give you a very recent example. I hope you caught this news that Anand Mahindra has recently built a new house for Idli Amma. Idli Amma who? You may say. If you don't know who Idli Amma is, I urge you to read up more on her. Her name is Kamlathal Amma. Some also called her Pati Amma, very fondly. She's over 85 years of age. And she runs a small little eating place in her own house on the outskirts of Coimbatore in some nondescript village. And hundreds of people, perhaps thousands over a month, maybe many thousands over a year, flock to her little eating place to eat yummy idlis, all at the price of ₹1 for a plate. Even in these times of high expenses, she's refusing to raise the prices. You know why? Because she feels the pain of people who need food. Because these idlis don't just serve as breakfast, but also probably act as lunch for many. So when Anand Mahindra found out about Idli Amma and the amazing work that she does, he could have just, portrayed a great image of her on Twitter, which he did. But he also committed that I am going to make a new house for her so that she can serve many more people. Because this woman at the age of 86 or maybe more, she wakes up at 5 a.m. to start making those idlis. And then she is waiting to serve more and more and more people. And guess when he did this? He took the occasion of Mother's Day very recently to give her the keys of this house. And it was given not by some a messenger or by courier service. It was given to her by the MD of Mahindra Housing or some high official of Mahindra Housing. So that's conscientiousness. That's Heeymaan of the Swami. I hope this is clear. There are many ways, of course, to show this, and in business, conscientiousness is so required because business probably dehumanizes you many a times. So that's the first one. The second one is apat prakrutyo viniyokta. Apat prakrutyo viniyokta, which is the ability to respond aptly, suitably, in both times, apat and prakrutyo. In adversities, in chaotic times, and prakrutyo, when things are natural, when things are business as usual, or BAU as we call it today. So now this may sound, oh, what does this mean? How does this matter to the leader? So one may say that in good times or in times when business is as usual, the leader may be able to operate with his fullest or her fullest efficiencies or the best thought process. But what happens to leaders when adversity strikes or when unusual times come up or uncertain situations crop up? How does a leader behave? So apat refers to those adversities, like in olden days, perhaps it was time of great war or famine. And we have many stories, whether it is of Ranti Dev or of Harishchandra or others, how they behaved in adversities, right? But I'm going to refer to a fairly modern example, and I'm going to take it not a time of great adversity, but an unusual situation. And this example is from the Tata Group now. So I'm sure several of us know about Xerxes Desai. And Xerxes Desai is known as the father of the Indian watch industry, if I can call it that. Yes, it was not as if watches didn't exist in India in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Yes, they were there, and they were watchmakers like HMT most popularly. And there were the others like Hyderabad Alvin and so on, Time Star. But then in the 80s came a new brand. It changed the Indian watchmaking industry forever. It was called Titan. And Titan was started by Xerxes Desai, whose brainchild it was. Now you may think, oh, that's easy. But actually the odds were loaded against him. For starters, how do you make inroads into a fairly well-established industry where you don't even have a name for making watches? Tata's was never known for making watches. Now it seems like they've been doing it forever. So, and Xerxes Desai decided that he would manufacture only quartz watches, not the regular mechanical watches, because the quartz watches were more precise, were more durable, and more importantly, required lesser number of elements, and they could be made slimmer. Now, the problem was where to start and where to get people from, because quartz watches were never made earlier. So Xerxes Desai decided to set up shop in Hosur. And it was set up in conjunction with, in collaboration with the Tamil Nadu government. And now the challenge was, how do we get talent for this? So you know that great leaders always think about purpose. The purpose was, of course, to make watches, but the greater purpose was to provide employment for the needy. And so a plan was created. In any case, there are no experienced workers over here, which means we'll have to train from scratch through craftsmen who were gotten from other places in the world. Maybe a few from India itself who got trained after going elsewhere. So guess what happened? Young students who had just passed out from school, but the criteria were very clear. A minimum of 16 years of age who would be trained then for 1 or 2 years so that they could become, first get the apprenticeship and then be hired when they became adults, were selected from neighboring villages around Hosur. These were young boys and girls. So naturally, they had to come from their villages to the town of Hosur. Now, what would that call for? So not only did they create a township, but they also created various hostels, accommodation, etc. But they went one step beyond and created foster mothers and fathers for these children so that they could be taken care of till a time that they were independent. Isn't this amazing? So there were adults who would take care of them, act like fathers and mothers, treat them as their own children. Side by side, they would be given training. They would be skilled in making those parts of the watches which together would be assembled and then roll out as Titan watches. Friends, they got trained so beautifully that the Titan watches started making the slimmest watches in the universe. They started calling it Titan Edge, if you remember that brand. But think about how Tata's addressed the problem, right? It was an unusual problem because, all right, you can decide to make watches, but how do you get people and how do you provide employment to the maximum extent? This continued, my dear friends, and schools were further set up. So in a unique way, this leader who landed up in a situation where there was no known talent pool available for that kind of business was created, combined with a higher purpose of generating employment by picking up these young boys and girls from neighboring villages, bringing them to Hosur, training them, providing them foster mothers and fathers. And these were the needy people. So it made their lives. So what better example of apat prakrutyo viniyokta? Viniyokta is being able to respond to it in a worthy manner. And of course, in good times, I guess most people are able to do it anyways. So I took an example of when times are unusual, chaotic, uncertain, and so on. So many leaders, how did they respond during COVID times? It's very important. And you probably know the example of how Amul responded very beautifully and how Sodhi Saab at the helm of Amul decided not to scale down dairy at all during the first lockdown, and Amul grew by leaps and bounds during those difficult times. So friends, I repeat, Heeymaan, which is about being conscientious, and apat prakrutyo viniyokta, which is the ability to respond in a worthy, in a positive manner during both uncertain, adverse, and difficult times, as well as during normal times. Now, the questions for you to dwell on, to introspect on, your Swadhyaya, dear friends. First is, ask yourself, How often do I think about the various elements in my ecosystem? How often do I think about people beyond me, my family, and my immediate team? How often do I think about their concerns and what action do I take there? The second question is, how does my mind operate when I am in challenging and difficult times? How are my emotions? What are they like when suddenly there are adversities, there are challenging times? All right. With that and with these reflections, I hope you will be able to make one step further in your progress in the journey of a Swami or Swamini. That's all for now. Continue to follow this series. Dhanyavad. Namaste.